Here's Robert.
Over the years, we've had Clark Baker on many times talking about the HIV issue. He's taken a real passionate stance for liberty, justice, that kind of thing. Not in a comic book sort of way, but in a very practical, real-life sort of way. And he's put it to the test with his Office of Medical and Scientific Justice, the OMSJ. There's a video, which is there's no audio in it, so I can't play it on the air, but I will read the first statement here as Liam and I discuss what's happening here, because there was a big case in Fort Bragg. So it says this: all HIV-related criminal charges against U.S. Army Sergeant T.D. were dismissed just the other day. After more than 200 days, he was released after the judge read the verdict. The chief judge of the U.S. Army was sitting in the gallery when the verdicts were heard. It's a huge defeat for the prosecution and will change the way the Army handles criminal HIV cases in the future. OMSJ successfully impeached a top HIV expert from Bethesda. That's according to Clark Baker. That part I love, the fact that you can impeach an HIV expert from Bethesda. That's good news, Liam.
Yeah, I was invited to go, and I was all set to go, and I just what happened was I hit a kind of a wall of I'm way too tired to take on one more thing between the next things and the next things and the next things. So I owe Clark a thank you for the invitation, and I really want to make sure that people understand that the Office of Medical and Scientific Justice, OMSJ.org, has prevailed in, I guess this would make it 41 criminal cases. I think in 30 cases, if I have it right, all HIV criminal charges were dropped. In, somewhere around 10, there were, plea bargains ranging from a couple of days supervised, what's it called?
Supervised, I can't even think of the thing, but they're going to watch you while you're not really in prison, but supervised release. There was one here where they were actually charging somebody with bioterrorism and HIV charges.
You know what? It's the asbestos it's going to...
Yeah, it's the asbestos. Somebody was fined $110 for battery, but the HIV charges were dropped. But yeah, you look at this, it's just astounding. I mean, and who would take this on? It's not like Clark Baker is getting wealthy on this. I mean, he's donating more of his time and energy than he would ever bring in to
probation,
defending some people who we might agree are real scumbags. But
yeah, some scumbags, some not.
Yeah, some not. But the idea here is to stand up for what is justice. Justice is everybody getting what they deserve. And you could be a scumbag and still not be deserving of 20, 30 years to life in prison for something that you didn't do.
Yeah, I mean, the guys we're calling scumbags maybe had sex with a bunch of girls and wasn't very honest with any of them, but honest about something that they'd been lied to about. So what do they deserve? They don't deserve to go to prison, and they don't deserve the death sentence. They deserve probably to be, made fun of by the girls who they upset, and to be told that they're pretty low-life characters. But we have to mete out punishment according to the crime. And what Clark has done is to grab a hold of these cases, the last one a military trial at Fort Bragg, which is incredibly significant because you're talking about the U.S. Armed Forces. They were going to prosecute, or they were prosecuting this guy for, having HIV, spreading HIV. Well, what Clark and the OMSJ do, and they bring in experts, they bring in people who can talk about the tests, who are the manufacturers of the tests, they impeach the local state experts, the governmental experts, and the military experts, and they say, well, hold on a second. How do you tell that somebody's truly HIV positive? And the person says, well, we use 2 of these tests, and they say, well, what is this test? And this test doesn't have any standards.
I love one of the things I saw that they had one expert saying, well, the Western blot test is the definitive test, and then they bring in the patent holder, I think was it Rodney Richards or something, of the test, who's saying, no, the test is really crap.
Well, yeah, Rodney Richards, Dr. Rodney Richards, is, I believe, a co-founder of Amgen who built the first HIV antibody test. And he's saying, no, it has no standards, it's not recognized, you really have to... It doesn't really have any definitive true or false positives, and you certainly couldn't convince a jury, couldn't convict anybody of being infected without, talk about reasonable doubt. You couldn't do it within any kind of normal bit of logical reasoning that we'd hold any other critic. I don't know. go out into the world and figure out the things that you apply logic to. Either your car has gas in it or it doesn't, right? Really, it either does or doesn't. And if it's so low it won't run, it's not full of gas. HIV tests are a mess. You can have gas in the car and be HIV negative. You can have gas in the car and be HIV positive because they interpret it according to not whether you have gas in the car, not whether you're really HIV positive, not whether you really have any particle in you, but whether they like you for it. They like you. You look like the guy driving the car who's committing a crime. But are you committing a crime? No, you just look like it to us, so we're going to accuse you. And that's how they got the last guy in the military. And then, Clark and the OMSJ went in. They really know what they're doing. I want people to go to omsj.org. There's a button at the top or a link that says Innocence Group. Very important. Now, you look at this, and at the top it says, it's a quote from somebody who says, I never had a suicidal thought in my life, but then talking about getting that HIV and being accused of it and thanking the OMSJ for being a legal defense. Imagine being accused of murder that you didn't commit. It's like the plot from a great, like a Dumas novel, or who wrote the Count of Monte Cristo, not Crisco.
Yeah, that's the wrong kind of fat.
Don't eat Crisco.
No. And by the way, just as a reminder, if you're utilizing the polyunsaturated vegetable oils, don't cook with them. Eat them raw. Not the canola oil. We don't need rapeseed as well.
No, don't eat that stuff. Don't eat Crisco. If you're going to cook at medium-high temperatures, use, I guess, butter or
coconut oil.
I don't really cook anything with oil. You know what I do? I do it the way I learned in my old macrobiotic studies. You just start cooking the thing. You add the oil near the end.
Yeah.
Then you get the full flavor of the oil. You don't alter it with heat. Speaking of altering with heat, Clark Baker.
Nice segue.
Hardly.
Yeah.
It's like a save. Clark Baker goes in. He takes names. He kicks ass. He's about 6'4" or so, 280 pounds of a very, very smart guy. And you wouldn't necessarily put all those things together. Sang in the choir, rides motorcycles, and defends people who are accused of things that they didn't do. And that's a pretty incredible thing. And not enough people know who he is. Not enough people know omsj.org. But you have to.